Yes. And as a fellow mixed race person of Black descent, as well as European, I just want to say Black Lives Matter, Red Lives Matter. And this poem I'm going to read is by request, and it's about another life often overlooked that matters. So, I'm Nefertiti Morrison, and this is Elegy for a Secret Commuter. Still, warm, I held her in my hands. The fleas fled her base brown, white-breasted body. I flicked them and wished her this unfamiliar relation, hated by human hordes, a best feast for the journey. Beyond the picnics in the park, I twirled her fur, hurriedly lush, a goddess's hush, and saw her nipples dormant, assuaged myself, no babies needing, placed her in a bush, sat on a rock there until near dark. Why? I got a flashlight from my decrepit, slaughterous car and held it while with the other hand, lightly, I touched her face. Cold, the last streak of day fell to his knees.
Wow. Thank you. Very moving, Nefertiti. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
Next up, Angus, are you ready?
Thank you. I've been very frustrated by my smug American or my smug Canadian friends who've been pointing south of the border and saying that could never happen here. And so my poem comes out of my experience in Canada. It's called White Man. Even with my dark tan and my black hair, I am just a white man. For all my love of the trap line, of wildness and wilderness, of the patient elder stories and Wendigo, I'm just another white man. Oppressor race and gender, accused of privilege, it takes my comfort. Can I learn the history and honor the hurting and respect the things that I am told? But I was born to my skin, immutable, sure as birth and death, unchanging pale faced. But do I have to live with its demands, or can I give up my power, hand over my guns, let my settler status go, renounce my place to take a lower space? While I'm nothing, as just one white man, I'm here to listen and to act where I can. And that is everything.
Thank you, Angus. I should have given you a heads up, Murray, but you are next, and we're looking to Murray Reiss as our next open micer. Murray?
It's actually Murray Reiss, but
Reiss, my apologies.
It's a common mistake. I'm going to read a poem called Breathless, and it has an epigraph from the Anapanasati Sutra, an early Buddhist text, that reads, always mindful, the meditator breathes in, mindful, the meditator breathes out, breathless. I'm sitting, my body erect but relaxed, following the in-breath, following the out-breath, following each breath down the path of awakening, clear knowing, release. As taught by the Buddha in the Anapanasati Sutra, on a full moon night in the open air, surrounded by an enraptured community of monks devoted to mindfulness of in and out breathing. 2,500 years before Eric Garner tells his assassins, I can't breathe. 2,500 years before George Floyd tells his assassins, I can't breathe. Before air choked by smoke, soot, and billowing tear gas gasps, I'm being smothered. Windpipe pressed down into soil so depleted, the ground groans, I'm choking too. I'm following the in-breath, following the out-breath, down streets of burning, blood-stained cities to where the Buddha, incarnate once more as a person of color, sits in full lotus, his body erect, and smiling serenely sets mindfulness to the fore. As always mindful, he breathes in pepper spray, tear gas, and droplets of virus. Always mindful, breathes out slavery, sins, and sorrows. And I'm following my out-breath to where it isn't, my in-breath to where it can't.
Thank you. Thank you, Murray Reiss. I'll remember that for next time, Murray.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you. Next up is one of Poets Corner's very own, one of our great team members, and that is Evelyn Schofield. Evelyn, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. A few months ago, I was in a discussion with some fellow poetry lovers, and we were discussing what were the appropriate themes for poetry and poetry readings. And it came out that some in the group were of the opinion that poetry about animals and pets in particular was not serious poetry. Then in May, I experienced the loss of a dear furry companion of many years, and I wanted to write something to mark her passing without becoming maudlin and still bearing in mind the admonitions of my colleagues about what poetry ought to be. So this poem is what came of that, and it is entitled, Not a Poem About the Cat. Don't write a poem about the cat. Poems should rage and roar, not hiss or mew. How could anything that chases a flashlight beam ever be taken seriously? Don't write a poem about the cat. Poems should describe expansive horizons, not a glimpse of crows on the power lines, surveilled from the back of the couch. Don't write a poem about the cat. We've heard it all before, ad nauseum. The inscrutable gaze, the unwavering independence, the ears finely tuned to the sound of a can opening. Don't write a poem about the cat unless you know how to put into words the absence of a chin to stroke, the sudden surfeit of tuna, the ennui of the catnip mouse. No need to keep the back door open, just a crack. So don't write a poem about the cat. Thank you.
That's lovely, but I actually think that it's quite okay to write about a pet, especially about the loss of a pet.
Thank you.
I do too, Evelyn. I second that. Absolutely. I'm the proud owner of 3 cats. I've always had cats and probably always will, and they're very special.
Yeah. Angelica.
Yes.
For that. And guess what? You're up next.
I'm up. Okay. Well, my poem is called Pandemic Pandemonium, and it's a reflection on what we've been through and to some degree are going through still. With bulging eyes and grave expressions, the media reports with glee, morning, noon, and night, spewing forth the numbers they think matter, the dying and the dead. Where are the survivors? Are there even any? COVID-19, destroyer of the light. The disease is virulent, relentless. It is a creature unknown, invisible. Still we dread it, feel it. Its tentacles have now reached around the globe. They surround us, sucking us into their embrace, slowly squeezing, tightening. Our fear is palpable, rising like waves crashing at tsunami building. COVID-19, destroyer of the light. The populace react swiftly, panicked, terrified. They break away before the sea of their anxiety drowns them, flooding into shops for carts full of sustenance, anything to clean everything. Masks to toss aside, gloves, and the ever important reams of toilet paper. After all, we must keep our hindsight clean. COVID-19, destroyer of the light. The tentacles are squeezing harder now. and we are gasping for relief. We live in the shadows of the deep blue sea, submerged, alone, wrapped in our own separate tentacle, floating aimlessly, unsure of what to do, struggling against an enemy we cannot see. COVID-19, destroyer of the light. The elderly, the frail, the vulnerable, they choke. They cannot fight back. Gasping for breath on a bed of stinking seaweed, they succumb and drown. The bereaved are left to mourn in solitary and bow their heads in grief, unable to do more. COVID-19, destroyer of the light. Sharks circle high above, their sleek bodies gliding effortlessly, seamlessly. They are eager to devour their prey, but are blinded by an inky blackness they cannot understand as they swim in confusion around us. Even Poseidon, emerging from his gold palace, brandishes his trident, looks grim, and has no answers. COVID-19, destroyer of the light. For some who have escaped and ride the stormy waves with ease to exploit others in merciless greed and shameful cowardice, this is a time of great riches, a feast of crustaceans, mollusks, and juicy clams. For them, the sea is an ally, and even the salt water doesn't sting. COVID-19, destroyer of the light. The rest of us, we must break free, force the tentacles open somehow, and swim up towards the sun to seek our peace. Learn and grow, shifting with the tides, finding innovation and creativity in the swift currents, surfacing again, surviving. COVID-19, we will not let you steal the light.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Angelica, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you everyone very much for listening, and thank you so much for what you've shared. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you.